Another part is about the other challenge that we have about what we call large-scale cohort studies versus deep learning phenotyping. We have discussed about UK Biobank together today. We discussed about ABCD project before and the characteristics of ABCD project. I've been working in a project that is called T1000. The motion data article that I showed you a few minutes ago was from the database that we call T1000 database. So these are basically large-scale studies that we assess subjects one time or two times, or for example in UK Bank we assess them today and then after 5 years we do the assessments again. So we have few points of assessment in each individual subject. Okay, so these are what we call large-scale cohort studies. But what do we mean by deep phenotyping? Let me just make you an example. In a study from September 2012 up to March or 2014, a guy whose name is Russell Poldrack, who is one of the great scientists in the field, he has done all these scannings, resting state scan, daily surveys, and blood draws for himself, ending up to this kind of huge database, as you can see here, in terms of the T1 data, resting state fMRI data, task fMRI data, RNA sequencing, metabolomics. So all those measurements for just one single subject. So you can imagine that instead of just, let's say, measuring 1,000 subjects for one time, he measured one subject for 1,000 times. So that is kind of the way that they try to do. And trying to see how much variation that we have in different days within one single subject. And is there any meaningful data there? So you can imagine how important it could be in terms of having an understanding about, okay, if we measure one person frequently over the time, what would be the level of variation that people would have in their, let's say, brain connections or the brain functions that they have or brain structure that they have. I highly recommend people to try to do this sort of kind of deep phenotyping inside themselves, trying to have a better understanding. And as more objective as we can get, that would be more and more exciting. What I'm doing, there is a running trail just kind of something like 5 minutes from my house, and I run there almost something like 2-3 times per week, depends on the kind of the timing and some other issues. But I was just checking on my phone, I have something like 200 times of running on that trail, and it is the same trail, so it is just a 5K trail, and it is 3.2 miles. And it's amazing to see how you fluctuate in terms of the timing that you can get the trail done, and how this fluctuation is not just about your physical, let's say, your physical competency compared to your mood. Unfortunately, I do not have a good record of my, let's say, daily mood or daily affective state, but I'm sure that I obviously see how my level of mood in something like daily measurements would be related to the speed that I have in the trail. So, and you can obviously see the fluctuations over the time. It's not just, and it's amazing that even the peak maximum of heart rate that you can get to the trail, and all those features are highly kind of fluctuating over the time. So there are days that I can do it with the pace of something like 8 minutes for a mile, and there are days that it's really hard for me to get it done in something like 10 minutes per mile. So it's amazing to have to see the fluctuations. But just going back to the story that I was telling you in terms of deep phenotyping, what Russell Poldrack found on that study, let me show you a few of those explorations that they have done. First of all, they realized that this is, as you can see here, there is a level of fluctuation. For example, this is the mean connectivity that they had in their connectivity measures overall. The overall connectivity was fluctuating. Not very much. It was between something like 0.75 to 0.85. It is not, the range is not huge, but there is still a level of fluctuation over time, okay? And they try to measure the level of similarity between sessions. For example, obviously you can see here that there are sessions around this time of the years that they are really similar to each other. But there are, for example, in these sessions, these timing in the correlation matrix, whatever these sessions are, they started to be really different from with the previous session. So this period of time, something was happening there. Or this period of time, as you can see here, something was happening there, or something was happening here. So obviously this session was quite different with other sessions. So you can see that within one single subject, we can have a huge level of, not huge, a level of variation. As you can see here, this figure is between 0.4 to 0.8. So the variation is not, let's say, between -1 to +1. The variation is between a smaller range, but it's still different. There are days that people could be different. And this is close to the kind of our personal observations that we are not exactly the same person. And then the question, okay, is that, okay, if people are experiencing these fluctuations, if we bring a subject inside the center, what we are measuring one of these points. So when we bring people for UK Biobank, we might be measuring the person in this point, or in this point, or in this point, or in this point. So how we can consider these intra-individual fluctuations, how we can bring in deep phenotyping to the large-scale databases, because it seems that that level of variation within the subject could also be clinically meaningful and should be considered for future cognitive neuroscience studies. Let me make you another example of this study by Russell Poldrack. They realized that, this is the connections between different networks. This is the default mode network, executive control network. These are the pictorial representations of resting acid fMRI connectivity. Obviously, Tuesday, because he was fasted, no caffeine, and Thursday he was fed and caffeinated, the networks are quite different in terms of their connections and how they are being represented. So that is what we are thinking about in terms of how even different factors within the subject could change different variations in connection.